whether we're meeting with a buyer or a seller, is we want a clear future. How many times have you met with a seller lead or a buyer lead and they want to think about it or maybe? We make it very clear we do not accept maybes. You know, we tell them before we even go and meet with them or they meet with us is, hey, when we meet, if you feel that we're not going to be a fit for you, are you going to be okay telling us no? And the reason we say that is because there's a lot of times if you want to tell us no, but you don't want to hurt our feelings, you might just tell us maybe or we want to think about it, and that's just really a nice way of telling us no, and we want you to be okay with telling us no. So we just get that on the table before we even meet with them, or if I'm on a listing appointment or on a buyer appointment and they say that, we call it out. If we feel it, we say it, and it's just, I feel like most people appreciate that, and it's going to be easier for them to just, whether it's a no, then you have a clear future, don't worry about calling them again, or if it's a yes, great, you're moving forward, sign the contract, or you have some sort of a clear future. Okay, well, we're going to talk on next Tuesday at noon. If you don't answer at noon, what does that mean? Does that mean that, is that just, again, your nice way of saying no? And you know, we kind of walk them through every step, even if you have a clear future to call them the next time and they don't answer that way. And again, just so you can really constantly keep your pipeline clean, basically.
I get off track, and Rachel was worried that I was going to get off track. So, am I?
No, I think you're saying. I mean, one thing we try and keep in mind is an excellent conversion rate for internet leads is 5%. So you're going to have to hear no.
That's excellent.
A lot. And so one of the sales trainer that we're working with is really pushed on us, which I think has helped tremendously. Is no is an okay answer. I mean, you would rather get there fast and in the first phone call than take them to look at a house or go meet with them or whatever and waste your time to get there. So, I mean, I think that's just really important to keep in mind. And I think we have salvaged probably a lot of deals by giving them the option to say no, because people are in general a little wary of salespeople. And so it just positions you as more of like a advisor rather than a salesperson.
All about me, but that's how buyers or a seller is going to feel as well. So that's where we are really trying to change our approach and just ask tons of questions, getting to know them and their situation, and how can we help you if we even can. I already went through the buyer intake form. We can hand that out too, but again, basically the whole point of the buyer intake form is this is what we've made up. We've kind of developed this, and we're always changing it too. On as we change our buyer intake form, and all this is, you're just asking lots of questions. You're getting to know them, like I said, and figuring out. I don't necessarily like saying it this way, but you're figuring out what their pain is. Why are they really going to buy? Why do they have to buy? Do they even have to buy? Because we all have those buyers too that just want to keep on looking and looking and looking, and why do we want to, that it drives you nuts. So we want to work with the people that are not only pre-approved, but they have to buy. They're motivated to buy. It's not, we don't like to work with people that are doing it just for the pleasure of it. We do it with people that, they might say at first it's kind of like they're doing it for pleasure, but you can normally find some sort of a pain indicator, and that's what you were really hitting on. For example, I was on a listing appointment last night, and at first they made it sound like they were going to be moving because they wanted to upgrade, like a lot of people are upgrading. But then when I really started drilling down to it, it was they wanted to move closer to the school their daughter goes to because gas is killing them. And the amount of money they spend on gas every single month is outrageous. So I really pin in on that of, so how much is that really costing you every month? And just again, just really trying to hit on those pain points and bringing that to the top of their attention to where they're like, oh man, I really do need to sell. This has cost me a lot of money. I need to make this happen. So again, like I kind of said there before, the whole idea with asking tons of questions is you're building rapport. They need to be talking 70% of the time. You need to be, 70-30 rule.
Do you go for these pain points with buyers and sellers just about anybody? Mm-hmm. And when you do find those, do you make notes of them?
Absolutely. When you're taking notes on someone, and as you guys know, I just talk. I'm a rambler. I totally get off track, and I do this in listing appointments, and I tell them, hey, this is a weakness for me. But when you're taking notes, I'm like OCD. Try to take every single little note that I have, and the next thing I know, I have a page long of notes. You don't need all that. I mean, really, all we're trying to do is figure out what is their pain. It should be short bullets like, okay, pain item number 1, pain item number 2, because every time you get a pain indicator, that's when you really need to, I mean, we have a whole...
Do you want to go over this? I feel like it would probably be.
Okay.
So, I'm probably going to skip the upfront contract. So basically the whole upfront contract is...
The upfront contract is basically just preparing them for what's going to happen. You'll notice, like in our internet lead script, we give very specific amounts of time. Another thing that our sales trainer has gone over with us is if you're respectful of people's time, you get way further with them. I mean, if you say, so if I'm going to meet with Adam at 10 o'clock and we say that a seller appointment is supposed to take 45 minutes, at the beginning I'm going to say, you know, on the phone we spoke about, we would take about 45 minutes today. Is that still okay? Check in with them. Make sure they say yes. If they say no, get out. How many times do you get there and they're like, oh, well, we have like 20 minutes, or they just don't want to talk to you, and it's an excuse. So if they don't have time for your full presentation, or you kind of get the feeling that they maybe changed their mind since you talked to them on the phone, you might as well not waste your time giving them your spiel. So that's kind of what that's for. It also gives them an idea. I'm going to ask you questions. Certainly feel free to ask me questions, getting permission to ask them the questions, because you're going to be asking them for personal information. Most people who want to sell their house do have a big pain. You don't know what it is, and you're probably going to find out, but it just makes them a little bit more comfortable. And then also, the big thing like Adam's been talking about is a clear future. So you say, at the end of this, generally the next step is moving forward with signing a buyer's agency agreement if you feel like we're a good fit. Again, if we're not a good fit, you can tell me no. It will not hurt my feelings, and sometimes no is the right answer if that's really what you're feeling.
So that's basically the point of the whole upfront contract. You're just setting our expectations. Then the questions. Now we have all these different questions. I don't need to read through all these, but the whole point of these questions is as you're asking these are when you're trying to find those pain indicators. I mean, the very first question, what made you start thinking about selling your home? Well, we're going through a divorce, or whatever it is, you know. There's normally going to be some sort of a pain indicator even in that first question that I've noticed. Now you might not always find it, so you just continue to go down this list and ask these questions until you find a pain indicator. The second you find some sort of a pain indicator, that's when you go down to the follow-up questions. Okay, so tell me more about that. And again, this needs to be very conversational. It can't sound scripted, so we try to internalize these. And when we bounce around, and then, you know, how long has this problem been going on for you? And, you know, and it's just really your tone, when you're talking to them, like, it's like, you know, gosh, you know, that, you know, you're not okay. It makes you almost feel uncomfortable when you're, you know, you really want them to be talking about that pain. And yeah.
And that helps you to break the ice with these people and get closer.
Absolutely, it's such a good rapport building process.
Now, when you have these notes, do you find that when it's time for them to sign the contract to sell their house or sign the contract to buy the house, do you bring back that?
Absolutely. So one thing that we do is, for example, you want to almost tie your pain indicators to what do you do good? You know, what differentiates you? So part of our questions that we're changing is, I mean, it can be as simple as things that we felt were kind of good things about us is we have a strong web presence and good, you know, we're on the radio, and you know, we spend a lot of money on marketing. We have a good track record. We have good systems. You know, good communication. You know, the whole idea is to make the whole ease of the transaction. I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things in today's market, making the ease of the whole transaction as smooth as possible. Now, they could care less about this stuff, by the way. What you want to do, what is your strong suits? And that's kind of how you're asking questions. Like, I mean, it could be as simple as, gosh, you know, I don't suppose having an agent that has a strong web presence is important to you. I mean, it could be a question like that. Again, it's not saying, hey, we have a strong web presence, we're great. It's just asking how they feel about that. Because depending on how they answer, if they say, yeah, I think that's really important, well, great. Then when I'm meeting with you or I show you my presentation, again, all this stuff that we're asking is all way before our presentation, right? So, and then when you talk about that, then it's like, oh, well, great. You know, it kind of ties into their pain and what they feel is a strong suit for having a good real estate agent. Now, if they say web presence isn't really important to them, well, don't make a big deal about it in your presentation. So you're really just trying to figure out how are my strong suits going to help them and tie into them, and that's what I really want to be focusing on. I know that's probably not the clearest answer, and I apologize.
I have a
Yeah.
question. The title of that page says the buyer call. So you're going over the intake form, you are on the phone?
Yep.
Okay, so you're getting all this information over the phone. Then the next meeting, then you schedule a meeting to sign the buyer agency?
Right, or like what our team has kind of found, a lot of people want to see that first house. So do the call over the phone, find out if they're a legitimate buyer, if they're pre-approved or whatever, and then it'd be great if we could get them into the office. It's hard to do. I mean,
It's
that
hard
was
to
our
build.
goal.
It's hard to build. I was bringing people in for listing appointments, and I felt I was doing good at it. And then next thing I know, it's like it's hard to build rapport in your office. If anything, meet at Panera or meet at a coffee shop. It's hard to build rapport with people, whether it's a buyer or seller, when you're at your place, your home, or whatever you want to say. So whether you're meeting at their home or a mutual place, it's going to be much better to build that rapport. So Bobby, like for that, we might not get all the way through our buyer intake form over the phone. So we're going to finish it up when we meet with them. And really when you're meeting with them is you're going through asking them what are they looking for in a house. I mean, we're not really, a lot of times we don't even find out what they're really truly looking for in a home until we're there, and that's kind of all ties into our buyer contract.
So
And
build enough rapport to get the appointment?
Yeah.
And then do the rest of it in
Yep.
person?
Yep. So it's not like it has to be done that way. We bounce around. It's just we try to follow those and get all those answers.
But these are buyer agents, but you do the listing, so do they do a transfer to you?
And what do you mean?
I mean, do they list houses, your buyer's agents? Okay,
Yeah.
everybody lists houses, okay.
And at that meeting too, what we're doing is you kind of start out by summarizing the pain points that you got on the phone. It's kind of like a two-call close, so you find out all of their information on the phone, and then once you get there, you do basically what we call an ultimate contract that says, when we spoke on the phone, you said you need to get a new house because you don't have enough room at your current house, you're not in the right school district, blah, 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 whatever. You just summarize those things and say, I feel these are all issues that I would be able to help you address, and then go into your presentation or whatever, and then finish up with the agency.